Toward the end of this year, I started to notice that when I needed to impart information to people, I had a few go-to strategies to make receiving that information a little more active. Teachers tell me all the time that they have to teach insert skill here, and they simply can't find a way to make it interesting. I'm not arguing that all of these things are really imperative for student learning. That's another discussion altogether. But if someone thinks it's necessary information, I would argue that there is a way to make it less boring. I tested it out using a variety of boring things people have to teach gathered from many of you. I pulled it together and I'm calling what's created ThoughTasks. This framework illustrates 5 possible ways to make mundane skill or piece of content more thought-provoking. Not every task can be used with every strategy, but one strategy usually works for just about any skill or content. Creating a thought task is not too difficult, and many of these strategies will be familiar. It's more about being methodical in using them and agreeing that more learning happens when the learner is doing the thinking. The first step in this framework is to choose one of the 5 base redesign strategies. Chances are you've used these before and will recognize them. Think about first choosing a base. This is like an ice cream cone with a really yummy scoop of ice cream, but no toppings. The first base is mystery design. In a mystery design, take away some important information and allow learners to figure out the missing pieces. The second base is who is right. This strategy requires setting up 2 scenarios and having learners discuss who is right. Like with several of these strategies, the answer is already given, so it takes away the need to find a right answer and puts the focus on the thinking behind the answer. The third one is sorting and matching tasks. Card sorts and matching tasks require learners to think about the connections and the patterns they see in information. So rather than just presenting the information, students are looking for those connections and thinking about the information they're receiving. The fourth one is to simply draw it. Drawing a visual representation of something very frequently allows the brain to see a concept in a new way and leads to understanding. This strategy is simple. Ask learners to draw the concept, skill, or piece of information. Finally, finding the rule. Finding the rule requires students to work backward and to explain their thinking. Because you've given them the answer, those who frequently get the answer and finish quickly are challenged to think about something else. Once you have a base for the redesign, that may be enough, but you can always add embellishments to the base the way you add toppings to ice cream. Ice cream is really good without toppings, but it can be more interesting with toppings too. This can be done to freshen up a task that's already been redesigned, just needs a new challenge, or maybe you're just comfortable enough with it that it could be elaborated on. Embellishments are not required, but they give you further options for redesigning tasks. For instance, does the redesign task lend itself to becoming a game? Could some friendly competition ramp up the task even more? What about working in pairs or groups? Most of the base redesign strategies lend themselves to discussion, so creating pairs or small groups may seem intuitive. Many card sorts or matching activities lend themselves to scavenger hunts or could become moving around activities. Or maybe the initial redesign might lend itself to being a full-blown, authentic project. Teachers are always experiencing learners who appear disengaged, learners who seem to not be able to remember even the most basic of information. These gaps make it difficult to go deep or make progress on anything. There is a lot of research that supports the idea that if students are not doing the thinking in classrooms, then we will experience this disengagement or passivity. And in fact, we're training them to be this way by continuing to settle for passive learning activities. So what if we challenged ourselves to create thought tasks for as many concepts as possible? If we go to the same 5 strategies, it's efficient. If time's an issue, these are fast, and you get faster at it the more you do it. Below are some specific links to research on vertical whiteboarding, which is a really interesting idea, and the idea of the thinking classroom. I've created a lot of examples and tried these strategies with many different subjects, skills, and information. Feel free to check those out in the link below. Also, I love a challenge, so if you have something that needs to be transformed and you're struggling with it, please comment below or tweet at Fearless Teachers Remember, there is no E before the R in teachers at the end. Another way to interact is to join the Facebook group on Classroom Redesign by clicking on the link below.